Hello everyone. In this video, let's learn about how to work with CSV files in Python. We'll learn what is a CSV file and how to read and write files in Python. CSV stands for comma separated values and it's a popular format to store data. Now, let me show an example of a CSV file. Here, we have a CSV file just named movies.csv. We can see that it's a text file and it contains a lot of data. Oftentimes, the first row in the data is a header file, which denotes what each values in the column represents. You can consider each rows in this data as a record in a database, and it gives you information. If you take a close look, you can see multiple commas present in this CSV file. So these commas are used to separate each value in the CSV file. So this can be used to construct a data frame. As the name suggests, comma separated values, here we can see the values are separated by commas. Now that being understood what are CSV files, let's learn about how to read and write CSV files in Python. We'll be using the CSV module and the pandas module. First, let's import the CSV module. Then, let's import the pandas module. I'll import the pandas module as PD so it can be easier to access. I'll run the cell. First, let's open the CSV file with the open command. So, with open and the file name that we are going to use, followed by what we are going to do with it. Let's try to read the data from the CSV file. So I'll be using R here. And let's give a name to this file. I'll simply name it as file. So in this way, we'll be opening this CSV file with the read operation and we'll be storing it in the file variable. Now that this is stored in this variable, let's try to access it. I'll be creating a new variable called f and I'll be using CSV module. And from CSV module, let's use the reader function. And inside the reader function, we'll be passing the file that we'll be using. We know that the CSV file is stored in the variable file itself. So I'll call it. Let's try to print every rows in the list. So for row in list F, let's print the row. We can see here that every row in the data is present as a list and these values which was separated by commas becomes a new value and it is enclosed in a list. So in this way you can access every row in the CSV file. Let's convert this f variable as a list and let's access every values in it by an index. So I'll be creating a new variable called flist and I'll convert this f variable into a list. Now let's try to access the first index from the list. With this, we'll get the header file. So these are the headers of the CSV file. So now we have understood how to read files with the CSV module. Let's also learn about how to write files with the CSV module. So now we'll be writing files. So we'll be using the same open command to open a file. So we'll be using the open command and let's create a new file here. I'll say age.csv. So age.csv will be first checked in the directory if it's present or not, else a new file will be created. Now that we'll be writing files in here, we'll be using the w command. And we'll also use an extra command called new line. And let's name this variable as file. Oh, sorry, the underscore should not be there. Now that we have opened this file and saved it in the file directory, so I'll be creating a variable called write, and let's access the writeUp function from CSV module. Inside it, let's pass the file that we'll be using it to write on. Let's store some names and their respective age in this dataset. Here, we'll be writing by each rows. So I'll call the write variable and let's use the write row function. So we'll be using the write row function here. Inside it, we'll pass the values that should be written in this CSV file. The first row in the data should be a header file. So that will make it easy for people to learn what's present in this data. So the first column will be name and the second column will be the age. So now the header would have been created. With this, let's insert some records into the CSV file. So I'll be calling the same write_row function and I'll pass some name and some age into this data. So now that our CSV file will have 3 rows, one being a header and 2 rows with the data. Let me also show you my directory which doesn't have this age.csv file. Now let's try to run it. Now we can see here that the age.csv file has been created. When we try to open it, we can see that there is a header and 2 rows present in this as record. So in this way, you can use the CSV module to read and write CSV files in Python. Now let's learn about how to use the pandas library to manipulate CSV files in Python. We have earlier imported pandas as PD. So I'll be creating a new variable called df where we'll store the CSV file. From the pandas library, let's access the read CSV function and inside it, let's pass the name of the CSV file that we'll be reading. So in this way, this CSV file will be read and stored in this df variable. Let's access the df variable now. Here we can see that the CSV file has been printed. To access only the first 5 rows in the CSV file, we can use the head command. So this head command will print the first 5 rows. We can see here that the data has been properly formatted with the values present in the first row as header and rest of the values present as samples in the data. We can also try to access a particular column with its name. So in order to do that, I'll access the df variable and I'll pass the name of the column that I should be printing. I'll pass the full name into it. And let's use the head function to print only the first 5 rows. So here we get the first 5 film names in the data. If you want to print the first 10 rows, we can specify 10 inside it. So in this way, we'll be getting 10 samples. If you want to access multiple columns together, you can pass them into a list. So I'll call the film and the genre it belongs. So in this way, we'll be accessing these 2 columns. Here we can see the film and the genre it belongs has been printed. In this way, the head function can be used. So in this way, you can read CSV files with pandas. Now let's learn about how to write CSV file with pandas. So I'll create a new cell now and let's create a dictionary with values that will be saved in a CSV file. So I'll call it as data and I'll initiate the dictionary. First column that we'll be having is the name, and let's pass some names into this column. And we'll also have a column called age, and let's pass some values into it. So in this way, we are creating each columns in the CSV file. So the name column will have Jack and Hammer, and age column will have 25 and 14 as their value. So these will be headers and these values will be the records stored in the CSV file. Now that we have the dictionary which contains the data, let's load it. Now I'll create a new table and I'll access the data frame function from the pandas. And inside it, let's pass the dictionary that we have used to create. Now let's check out what are the values present in this new data. Here we can see that the new values has been inserted in this variable. In order to save it as a CSV file, first we'll call this variable and use the toCSV function. Inside it, we'll pass a name which should be used to create this file. So I'll call it age_pandas.csv. I'll also include index as false. So this won't create a new column with index values. Now let's run this code. Now let's open the directory and here we can see that age_pandas.csv has been created. By opening it, we can see the values that are present in it. So I hope you understood about what are CSV files and how to read and write CSV files with Python. We have used the CSV library and the pandas library to do so. See you again in the next video. Thank you.